In 2022, three physicists won the Nobel Prize for proving something that sounds more like a riddle from an ancient mystic than a scientific fact: that the universe is not locally real. In simple terms, it means things don't exist in a fixed way unless you observe them. That should shake your foundation a little, because if nothing is truly there until you look, then reality isn't something you live in, it's something you live through. It's not out there, separate from you. It's happening inside, molded by attention, designed by perception. That means the version of life you wake up to each morning, the arguments, the struggles, the routine, the identity you call me, might not be what you think it is. Maybe it's not a collection of fixed facts, but a reflection of how your mind is choosing to look, a feedback loop. The relationship you feel stuck in, the money problems that keep repeating, the sense that life is predictable and hard. Could it be that they're not as solid as they seem? Could it be that your focus is the glue holding them together? What quantum physics is now whispering, what the mystics have screamed in silence for centuries, is this: you're not a passive observer of the world. You're the painter holding the brush. You're the one choosing where to look, what to believe, and how to label the scenes of your life. And because of that, the world keeps showing up in the same shape, wearing the same mask. But what if you stopped looking the same way? What if you pulled your attention back just for a moment? Because here's where the illusion begins to crack. If your observation creates reality, then perception isn't passive at all. It's creative, and what you see isn't necessarily what's there. It's what your mind expects to see. 1. Perception isn't passive, it's creative. Most people think they see the world as it is, but here's the twist. What they're really seeing is what their mind expects to see. Perception isn't just about receiving data, it's about creating meaning. The brain doesn't just take a picture of the world. It paints one, fast, messy, and based on old memories, assumptions, and predictions. So when you're standing in line at the grocery store, frustrated because someone cut in front, you're not reacting to what happened. You're reacting to your mind's version of it. It's wild, right? Your brain is basically running its own editing software, cutting out what it deems unimportant and filling in blanks with stuff that feels familiar. Ever misread a word, only to realize later it was something else entirely? That's the filter at work. It's not lying, just trying to keep things simple. But simplicity comes at a cost. Awareness shrinks, the illusion becomes stronger, and reality? It quietly slips into the background, unnoticed and unexplored. Think of it like a movie theater. You sit there, lost in the film, feeling the emotions, immersed in the story. But the whole time you forget, it's just light on a screen. The mind does the same thing. It builds a world and then convinces you it's real. And when that world gets challenged, people defend it like it's sacred. But if perception is a projection, then whose movie are you watching? And what if you could step out of it? This is why two people can look at the same sunset. One sees beauty, the other sees sadness. One sees the end of a day, the other the loss of time. The colors don't change, but the meaning does. Perception isn't passive, it's a creative act shaped by identity. And if that identity is distorted, so is everything you see. But what happens when your brain's version of the world is already a few steps behind? Let's talk about that. 2. The world you experience is already over. Most people don't realize they're always late to their own lives. Science has shown that what we perceive as now has already happened by the time we're aware of it. The brain needs time to process light, sound, and touch, meaning you're reacting to a version of reality that no longer exists. It's like watching a live broadcast with a delay. You're in the game, but not in real time. The strange part: we go about our days completely convinced we're in the moment. That's the illusion. You think you're here, but you're always a few steps behind. Let's break this down with something simple. When someone throws a ball at you, your body reacts before you even realize what's happening. That's not magic. It's delay. The visual information travels through the eyes, gets decoded by the brain, and only then do you see it. But your reflexes, they fire before conscious awareness kicks in. It's like your body knows reality isn't waiting for your thoughts to catch up. And yet most people still believe they're driving the car of life with perfect control. Spoiler, you're not even in the front seat. Now think about how this affects your emotion. That fight you had last week? You're not mad about what happened. You're mad about your mind's interpretation, built on delays and filters. Awareness gets buried beneath reactions that feel immediate, but are always slightly outdated. The illusion of control grows stronger the more we assume our responses are real-time truth, but they're not. They're shadows of what already passed. And when you start seeing this, you stop rushing to defend every thought that shows up. So if your experience of reality is already over before you catch it, what does that say about the world you're clinging to? Every moment is like a photograph developed in the darkroom of your mind, tinted by emotion, memory, and expectation. The real-time experience you crave doesn't live in the brain, it lives in awareness. And if your mind is a few seconds behind, maybe it's time to ask, what else is it missing right now? Because what you see might not just be delayed, it might be deliberately filtered. 3. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing a filter. Your mind is not a camera. It's more like a selective editor deciding which parts of reality you're allowed to notice. Most people think they're seeing the world as it is, but in truth, they're only seeing what their brain has been trained to highlight. This filtering process happens so fast, you don't even know it's occurring. Think about it. How many times have you lost your keys only to realize they were right in front of you the whole time? That's not forgetfulness. That's perception hiding what it doesn't deem important. Take the famous gorilla experiment. Participants were asked to count basketball passes and didn't even notice a man in a gorilla suit walking through the scene. Not because they weren't looking, but because their attention was locked. That's the illusion at play. You only see what you expect to see. The rest, deleted, not by some external force, but by your own mind. Awareness gets hijacked by the narrow focus of attention, and everything outside that spotlight simply vanishes. You trust your senses, but your senses trust your filters. Now think about how this shapes your identity. If your brain filters out anything that doesn't match your beliefs, then you're living inside a self-reinforcing loop. You see what supports your story and ignore what challenges it. That's why two people can have opposite reactions to the same event. One sees threat, the other sees opportunity, not because of reality itself, but because of the mental lens through which it's viewed. The problem isn't the world, it's the default programming of your perception. So here's the punchline. If you're not seeing the world clearly, how can you possibly see yourself clearly? What parts of your true self have been filtered out to preserve the illusion of control, comfort, or coherence? And what if the person you think you are is just a mental highlight reel, edited, cropped, and color-graded by years of conditioning? Once you realize your filter has a built-in bias, you start to wonder, who built it? And more importantly, who are you without it? Let's take that question even deeper. 4. The illusion of a solid self. The person you believe yourself to be, that I narrating your life, is not as stable as you think. It feels like there's a consistent identity behind your eyes, guiding choices and reacting to the world. But when you actually look for this self, it disappears. There's no fixed center, just shifting thoughts, emotions, and memories that change from moment to moment. One day you feel confident, the next uncertain. One moment you're calm, the next angry. So which one is the real you? If identity shifts with your state of mind, is it even real at all? Consider this. If you were born in another country with a different language, culture, and religion, would you still be you? Of course not. You'd have a different name, personality, belief system, everything. That's not some abstract idea. It's a clear reminder that what you call me is a collection of borrowed parts. Family values, school experiences, heartbreaks, successes, all stitched together into a story you now defend as truth. But a story isn't a self, it's a script, and most of us didn't even write it ourselves. That's where the illusion hits hardest. You think you're acting freely, but you're just playing the role your conditioning handed you. You say, that's just how I am. But is it? Or is that just what you've been told to believe? When a man snaps at his partner and says, I can't help it, that's just me, he's defending a ghost. Identity becomes a cage when it's mistaken for truth. And when you don't question the character you're playing, the script keeps running, even if it no longer fits. So if identity is just a story, and a flexible one at that, who's the one aware of the story? Who's the one noticing the shift from confidence to doubt, from anger to peace? That watcher doesn't change. It just observes. And that opens the door to something far more unsettling. If you're not the voice in your head, not the emotion, not even the belief, then what are you? And if you've been clinging to a false self, what else in your life is a fabrication? Let's talk about memory. 5. The fabrication of memory. Memory feels reliable, like a mental video archive you can scroll through at will. But here's the kicker. Every time you recall a memory, you're not accessing a file. You're rewriting it. Neuroscientists have shown that memories are reconstructed, not retrieved. That means every time you revisit the past, you add new details, filter it through your current emotions, and reshape it to fit the identity you think you are. That vacation you remember fondly? You might be remembering a feeling, not the facts. Let's make this real. Ever had a heated argument with someone about a shared event? Each person is sure their version is the truth, but both can be wrong. Your brain doesn't care about truth. It cares about coherence. It adjusts memory to keep your perception of self stable. You remember being the victim, the hero, the one who was right, because that's what fits your current narrative. But if memory can be edited so easily, how much of your identity is built on fiction? The mind loves a good story, and stories need structure, beginning, middle, end. So your brain fills in the gaps. You're not lying, you're improvising. That childhood memory that shaped your fear of failure, it might not have happened that way, or at all. Memory creates the illusion of continuity. I've always been this way. But that's just another trick. You're remembering a version of the past that supports your current perception, and every time you revisit it, it shifts. Now think about this. If the past you rely on for meaning is that malleable, how can the present be trusted either? Your sense of reality isn't grounded in facts, it's grounded in familiar feelings. The illusion grows not from what happened, but from how you think it happened. And that loop of interpretation becomes your personality. But if the mind can create such convincing lies about the past, how different is that from dreaming? And if life feels that real, could it actually be a dream you haven't woken up from yet? 6. Reality is a dream your mind hasn't woken up from. Ever woken up from a dream and thought, wait, that felt real? You were convinced. The people, the conversations, even the emotions, they all made perfect sense while you were inside it. That's the unsettling part. Your mind can generate entire worlds that feel just as vivid as waking life, and yet, the moment you wake up, it vanishes. So what makes waking reality any different? If your mind can create illusions while asleep, who's to say it isn't doing the same thing right now? Think about lucid dreaming. In that state, you become aware that you're dreaming while still inside the dream. Suddenly, you gain power. You can fly, shift the scenery, even interact with dream characters differently. But here's the twist. In waking life, you rarely question the dream you're in. You move through routines, respond to triggers, repeat the same loops, all without stopping to ask, is this real? That's not awareness. That's autopilot. And autopilot thrives inside illusion. Take a moment and look around you, not just with your eyes, but with your attention. That chair you're sitting on, the feeling of gravity, the room, it all feels solid, dependable. But so did that dream you had last week. The brain interprets data to simulate solidity. It doesn't interact with objective truth. You're living in a hallucination that's just more stable than your sleeping ones. But stability isn't the same as truth. Illusion wears many costumes, and reality is its most convincing disguise. So what happens when you finally notice the cracks? When a quiet voice inside starts whispering, "This doesn't add up." That's the doorway to awareness. But not the kind that shouts answers, the kind that observes patiently, the kind that sees without reacting, the kind that doesn't need proof to know something's off. And once you hear that voice, even faintly, you can't unhear it. Because it's not coming from your mind. It's coming from something deeper, something that's always been watching. 7. Awareness is the only thing that doesn't change. Everything you've ever experienced, every emotion, thought, sound, and sight has come and gone. But something hasn't moved. Something's always been present. That something is awareness. It's not a thought, it's not a feeling, it's the quiet noticing behind it all. When you were 5 years old, looking out at the world with wide eyes, that presence was there. When your heart was broken or when you achieved something great, that same presence watched it all. It didn't react, it didn't judge, it just witnessed. Most people never meet this awareness because they're too busy being distracted by the mind. The mind wants control, clarity, certainty. But awareness doesn't need any of that. It doesn't need answers. It doesn't seek validation. It just is. You can try to explain it, but words always fall short. Try it now. Stop for a second, drop the thoughts, and notice what's noticing. That's not your identity. That's not your story. That's something deeper. That's home. You've never not been it. You've just been looking away. Here's the strange part. Awareness isn't personal. It doesn't belong to you. It's not yours in the way your name or your job title is. It's impersonal, silent, and limitless. The thoughts that rise and fall, they're like clouds. But awareness, that's the sky. And the sky doesn't try to control the clouds, it just holds them. So when you realize you're not the cloud, not the weather, but the sky itself, something changes. Not in a loud way, but in a way you feel, quietly, completely. So if perception is a trick, and identity is a story, and memory is fiction, what are you left with? You're left with awareness. The only thing that never changes, the only thing that doesn't come and go, the only thing that's real. And yet, most people spend their lives searching outside for what's always been inside. They chase success, approval, enlightenment. But what if the search is the distraction? What if stillness was never empty, but full of you?